Logan.
The dead leaf tree.
Dead leaf? No. You guys are giving me names of specific trees, but what are the three main categories of trees? Jed?
Crown.
No, that's the three parts of a tree. Jensen?
Maple.
No. Lucy?
Needle leaf trees.
Yes, needle leaf is one. That was the pine and the fir and the spruce that we found. What's another kind? There's the needle leaf and what else? Autumn? Broadleaf. Now that's like your oak tree, your maple, your elm. And then what's the third category? Do you remember, Mason? We don't have any of these kind of trees near us, but down south. What?
Evergreen.
No, not evergreen. They have these kind of trees in Florida.
Palm trees.
Palm. Okay, so needle leaf, broadleaf, and palm were the three kinds of trees. All right, so today we're going to be talking about different kinds of flowers and the parts of a flower. So we talked, who said crown? Jed, what are the three parts of a tree?
Crown, trunk, and roots.
Good. So the crown, just like a crown on a king or queen, is at the top. So crown, trunk, and then the roots, which we can't normally see. How big are the roots on a tree?
As big as the crown.
Yes, as big as the crown.
Or
So
about,
if you've got a smaller crown on a smaller tree, the roots aren't going to be very big. But a big, massive crown has a big root system underneath the ground. Okay, open your science book to page 52. Okay, and then we're going to talk about observing flowers. Now, a lot of these flowers in here that we're observing are actually blooming right now. I noticed them on the way here to school. Jacob?
so the size of the roots, like in California,
The redwood trees and the sequoia trees,
Are they that actual big?
I guess. But those trees have a massive trunk. I mean, the crown is big too, but I think it's the trunk that is what makes it so big. Dylan? Oh. Okay, can you go back and get Mrs. Brooks? Can you, the second drawer down on the left has Band-Aids. Can you go back and get a Band-Aid? Alex.
So, fun story and fun fact. So, for my 6th birthday,
Okay.
my dad bought me a redwood tree, and it was about this big. And he planted it at our cabin in Deep Creek,
Okay.
and it was right before winter. It lasted that winter, but the next winter, well, I don't know how, but it started falling apart in the summertime. Maybe it didn't have enough money, water.
I don't think trees need money.
Money rains from the sky.
Okay.
And
All right.
So then it died that winter. But what I learned is that baby trees. So you know how babies haven't developed their immune system, right? So pretend the snow is coronavirus,
Okay.
and the baby tree, its immune system wasn't strong enough to how should I say this? To survive all the coldness. But it did get watered over there. But they can die.
Right. You don't
and
want to overwater.
I actually picked one of the pines off the ground that had fell, and I actually kind of peeled it open, and it looked really cool inside. It not only the sap or the goo that's inside of it, it was like blue inside of it, like little specks of blue.
Wow.
And it looked really cool. So
That is neat.
that's my story about my baby redwood.
Okay. Well, thank you for sharing. All right. Well, let's get busy reading, okay? Or we're not going to get finished today. So we're on page 52, observing flowers. No matter what time of the year it is, there are flowers blooming somewhere in our country. Do you know the names of the flowers that are blooming where you live? Do you know which flowers are most common in your area? Take a good look at a flower that is growing in a field or garden. How tall is the plant on which the flower grows? Is it growing in rich, moist soil or sandy, dry soil? What color, shape, and size are the flowers? After you have observed the flower carefully, find a wildflower or garden flower book and look for the flower in the book. Check your library or ask your parents or teacher to help you. You will learn many interesting things about the flower. You might learn how it got its name, where it grows, what insects and other animals feed on or near it, and whether it is a Native American plant or not. Look especially for the common fall flowers pictured on 55 to 58. These are the flowers that I've been noticing on pages 55 to 58. In fact, I wanted to stop this morning and pick some flowers, but I knew my teenagers would be all growly. Oh, I got some little pictures.
Wait, is that
It's
a black-eyed Susan?
No.
Black-eyed Susans are really
This is, I don't know if this is actually in our book anywhere. It almost looks,
Page 55.
no, this is not a black-eyed Susan. It's not black in the middle. But this is similar almost to the aster, but not quite. Not quite sure what this is. So what I should do is look it up in a field guide book and see what kind of flower it is. But there's plenty of goldenrod. You see that feathery looking golden flower on page 56? So when you're driving home today, notice along the side of the road, see how many of these flowers you can find. Queen Anne's lace is blooming. Chicory is blooming. Dandelions, they bloom all year. Not all year, all summer. Okay, Micah?
I think I know how the black-eyed Susan got its name. So, a girl walked up to a flower and she said, "I'm gonna name this flower Susan." And then her older brother punched her in the eye and she got a black eye. And he's like, because that was a stupid idea. I'm
Micah.
gonna name her Black-eyed Susan.
Okay, that's something that would happen at our house, but probably not in real life. All right, well, it does have a black center, so it's like the eye of the flower. Black-eyed Susan. All right, let's keep reading. I know we've got lots of stories we can tell. So let's talk about the parts of a flower, okay? Is this a story, Jacob?
No, but I think that is tansy.
Oh, tansy, you think? It could be. Look like daisies that have their white ray flowers removed. I don't know. I'll have to look that one up. Okay, so God has created a wide variety of beautiful flowering plants, and yet most of them are variations of the same basic design. This is because all flowers have one purpose for the plant. To do what? Is anybody following along?
Produce seeds.
Thank you, Nicholas. To produce seeds. That's what a flower's job is. Okay, so all of the center part of these flowers are seeds. So once this dies, those seeds will fall to the ground, and then next year there'll be more flowers. The stem that holds up the head of the flower and supplies it with water and food may be short or tall, thick or thin. On the underside of the flower's head are special leaf-like structures called sepals. So if you, let me see if I can notice this. So if you turn the flower upside down, do you see the green
Yeah.
leaves underneath?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's the sepal part. The sepals enclosed and protected the flower when it was a bud. So before, oh, see right here. See, this one hasn't bloomed yet, but the sepal is protecting the flower inside of it. And then once it opens, that sepal will be underneath the bloom. Above the sepals are the petals, so that on my flower are the yellow, which help attract birds and insects to the flower. So why didn't God make petals gray and black?
Because they,
Logan?
Because they need to be vibrant and colorful.
Right.
That will show off and tell them which one is which.
Right, it attracts the bee to it. You're not going to be attracted to something ugly. You're going to be attracted to something beautiful. Just like the male is usually a beautiful insect or bird or animal, and then the female is attracted to the male. And then they can produce young. So let's see here. The petals, the center of the flower head is made up of stamens, and you can actually look at the picture in your book. These stamens aren't quite as long. It would be good if we had a lily or something like that. But these stamens are all the little stems inside here. And the pistils. So the pistil is on the inside. Let me break one of these. Okay, I'm not sure if we'll be able to see it, but that's more in the center. Okay, so you'd have like that main, this one I can't really, you might be able to see a little bit of it right here. The stamens make pollen, that the fine yellowish dust you often see on flowers. The pistil contains many undeveloped seeds in the enlarged part down at its base. You can remember the flower parts by starting at the outside. So think about before the flower blossoms. Okay, it's S-P-S-P. That's how we can remember. So we've got our sepal, that's the green protective layer, and then you have the petals, and then you have your stamens, and then your pistil in the center. Some flowers have only 3 of these parts. Some plants, such as the maple tree, have 2 kinds of flowers. The staminate flowers have only stamens, and the pistillate flowers have only pistils. All right, so open your journal. We're going to draw the parts of a flower. Okay, this is the fun part.
I think it's all fun.
Good. Alright, so actually I have this poster. It has the life cycle of a plant. Okay, but this here shows the parts of a flower. And then I also have this card. So you've got these leaves are your sepals. Then you've got your petals. And then your stamen are these long pieces, and then at the top, that's where the pollen is. And then the pistils, the center part here. Okay, so let's try to draw. You might want to use different colors. Alright, so you've got your stem. Okay, you've got your petals. Your pistils in the middle. And the way I remember all these tall guys, the stamen, so you picture them as being little men. Stamen. They're all they're like the soldiers.
They're like the soldiers in England.
Amen.
They're just like stand with their big hands.
Okay. So mine's all one color, but you might want to draw your petals pink.
No. That looks like a lemon. The petal, the very right petal and the very left petal looks like a lemon.
And the other one looks like a mountain. I did mine like this.
Those are basically leaves. Looks like we're making bulbs. Making balls here. That's a bunch of
I'm
balls.
not drawing the whole flower, just the bloom.
Oh!
Don't all me. You're drawing what I draw. Some of you are talking, and you're the ones that aren't doing what I'm drawing on the board. Okay, so go ahead and finish that up if you're not done drawing that yet. I'm going to continue reading about pollinators. When honeybees, bumblebees, wasps, flies, and other insects visit flowers in search of nectar, pollen brushes from the tips of the stamens onto their bodies. So all of these have like a dust on top, the pollen. As an insect travels from flower to flower, it moves pollen from the stamens to the pistils. Scientists call this process pollination. Fruit growers are so dependent upon honeybees to pollinate their apple, cherry, plum, and pear trees that they rent hives of honeybees during the time their trees are in blossom. Field crops such as peas, onions, carrots, cabbage, and alfalfa also depend on insects to pollinate them. Gnats, beetles, and ants do their share in pollinating plants. God designed insects to do this important work for man. Some birds and bats are also designed to be pollinators. After the flower is pollinated, tiny sperm cells in the pollen fertilize or unite with the undeveloped seeds at the base of the pistil. Now the seeds will be able to grow into new plants after its own kind. So it's almost like you have your male and your female. So you put your male and your female together, they come together and they can fertilize the egg and make a new offspring. Okay, so it's the same like with your flowers. When you pollinate, you take the pollen and move it from one flower to the next, and then it pollinates that pistil right here, and that's where it can form make a new flower. So, let's talk about weeds. Ugh. Have you ever wondered why some flowering plants are called weeds? A weed is a plant that grows where it is not wanted. And I actually just saw Mr. Gary. He's out in the flower bed right now pulling weeds. Probably thistles and all kinds of vines. And I noticed the vines are growing up inside the rose bushes and they're just taking over. Some weeds arrived in North America accidentally in shipments of other seeds. Other weeds were brought here on purpose. For example, the early colonists brought burdock with them because they ate the root. Burdock root is not a popular food today, but the burdock plant continues to thrive. Most weeds are very tough and easy to grow. The root system of weeds help prevent soil erosion and break up hard-packed soil. So even though weeds are a pain and they're not good, they still do some good. They keep the soil in place. Deep roots also bring minerals that are deep in the earth up near to the surface, where other plants can use them. Some weeds are useful as medicines, dyes, or foods. Many weeds produce great quantities of seed. This is very important to the birds that depend on weed seeds for food. So I'm thinking of the weed, the dandelion weed. You can actually eat the leaves of the dandelion. In fact, I think my salad even had some dandelion leaves in it. Okay, and then also the birds eat the seeds from a lot of weeds. So if birds only ate the seeds from the good plants, we wouldn't have enough of the good plants. So it helps that they eat the seeds of the weeds. Mason?
I'm going to use the dandelion leaves raw.
You can eat them raw, or you can eat them cooked too. I think when I was in 3rd or 4th grade, we actually made a dandelion salad. Yummy, yummy.
Does the dandelion
Maybe we can do
taste
that.
good?
Yeah, it just tastes like leaves.
It seems like
Okay, Logan?
So you're telling me if I walk up to a dandelion and pick out the little petal,
Well, it's the leaf. You eat the leaves.
I mean, like the leaves off the dandelion.
Yeah, just wash it. Make sure they're clean. Because sometimes you spray your yard, so you don't want to eat the spray. Jacob?
What about sunflowers?
What about them? Can you eat them? You eat the seeds.
You can also
This one
eat.
time I just ate the whole flower.
Ew.
You can actually.
I don't know. All right, Alex.
Fun fact, at our school, I think we were in 1st grade, and we made carrot soup, and we put rocks in there, like actual natural rocks, and we gave them,
Was
each
it
class-
stone soup? You
It
made
was
stone soup
Yeah,
because of the story, Stone Soup?
yeah, we actually still have those books,
Yeah.
and we made stone soup, and like, I think all homeless people.
Oh, did you? That
Yeah,
was nice.
And also Dylan actually got to drop one of the stones in.
Oh, nice. So you were cooking. Good job. That's a neat story. Okay. Let's keep reading. Many flowers in one. Did you know that when you pick a daisy, you are really picking more than one flower? The part of the daisy that we usually call the flower is made up of hundreds of tiny flowers. The white parts that we often call petals are not true petals at all. Each one is an individual flower. Since these flowers radiate from the center, they are called ray flowers. The yellow disc, which is the center of the daisy, contains many tube-shaped flowers. Because these flowers form a disc, they are called disc flowers. Asters, sunflowers, and coneflowers are a few of the other flowers which have both ray flowers and disc flowers. Many of our favorite flowers are in the daisy family, which is also called the sunflower family or composite family. All of the flowers on pages 55 to 58 with an asterisk before their names are members of the daisy family. How many others can you find? So I have a feeling this kind of flower almost looks like it would be a daisy flower in the daisy family. So I'm not for sure, but so do you see if you look very carefully, you took a daisy apart, each of those petals is actually a flower. And then each one of those yellow centerpieces is also a flower. So I think actually this does have oh look, yep. If you take this apart, each one of these center parts is a little tiny disc. You'll have to look at it later. Okay, it's actually looks like a little tube. That's a teeny little fairy flower. Okay, so that's a disc, and then each one of these petals, this is actually a ray flower right here. Looks just like the book here. So after science, you guys can come up and look at those. Okay, so that's pretty interesting. All right, let's see here. We're not going to read about each individual flower at this moment. Go ahead and open your activity book. Okay, so you'll see, actually we should have already done page 25, but we didn't. All right, we'll just work on this little by little. Tell you what, let's go ahead and do page 25 as a review. So it says, label the needle leaf trees, learn to recognize them, try to draw each branch and cone on a separate sheet of paper. So we actually did that in our journals. So who can tell me the name of number 1?
Pine.
Remember that, right? Pine. Remember the real long needles? That was a pine tree.
We have to write tree.
No, you can just write pine. What about number 2? Remember the needles that are real short and they have their little baby pine cones? Hemlock. Whoever said hemlock. And then number 3, the
Fir.
what is it?
Fir.
Fir. The pine, remember the pines grow upward. And then what's the last one? Number 4, spruce. 28. Actually, we should have taken that with us. But since we didn't take it, we don't really have a lot of broadleaf trees on the property. This would be something you could do at home. So if you, tell you what, I'll give you extra credit if you can find on pages 27 and 28 as many as those things as you can. So you've got your needle leaf trees. I don't think you'll find any palm trees. Your broadleaf, and then all those different kinds of flowers, which a lot of those are growing right now. Okay. Now for 29, that's just some drawing illustrations. Okay, which actually, that's just teaching you how to draw the parts of the flower, a daisy and a sunflower. Okay, which would be interesting. Okay. Let's see. Turn to page 30. Put a check by the plant you see. It may be the wrong season of the year to see some of them, so keep this to use later. Put an X over each plant that is poisonous in some way. So, not sure if we're going to learn that. Let me see. I think we are going to learn that later. Yeah, we'll learn which ones are poisonous later. So, keep turning to page 35. All right, page 35. We're gonna fill in the blanks, and you can use pages 55 and 56, 57 if you need help. All right, so who can tell me number 1? Everyone who lives in Maryland should know number 1. It's the black-eyed Susan. Remember, Susan got punched in the eye and.
That's not the real thing, because there's a illustrator, I'm pretty sure,
Right.
that is named Black-Eyed Susan.
It is.
All right. So number 1.
Susan.
Which actually, for your Maryland notebook, actually some of you are from Pennsylvania, I think, aren't you? Okay. And actually, Susan is capitalized. Sorry. My mom, who grows black-eyed Susan, she picked you all a blossom and is pressing them and drying them for you so you can put them in your Maryland notebook, your state notebook. All right, number 2. What's the name of number 2? That trumpet-looking flower. Logan?
Was it the pitcher plant or was it?
No, these are different plants. These are ones that you would see out. It's on page 56. Also known as a touch-me-not.
Touch me not.
Says the jewelweed. Very good.
Touch me not. What is it? I'm calling
Well, the reason it's called that is because if you ever find one, they have those little seeds hanging down, those seed pods. If they're ripe and full, if you touch them, they spring open and the seeds go flying. That's how they
touchy.
spread their seeds. Kind of like impatiens have those. They get real big seed pods, and if you just touch them just a little bit, they spring open and the seeds go flying.
Seeds do the same thing. Except I'm pretty sure an insect does that. So I've seen like these little gray things crawling around underneath our carpet near our doorstep, and they, as soon as I touch them, they roll up into a little ball.
All right, number 3. What's number 3? We talked about this This has a family. Yes.
Daisy.
Yes, Daisy.
Died from the jewelweed.
that you find. Several of you have found it out in the grass even.
It does.
It's actually not. It's a beautiful blue color. In fact, what is it? Yeah, it's chicory,
I have a bunch of
which
Hickory, but chicory.
you can move your pin. I also knew it as a cornflower. Okay. Number 5. What's the name of number 5? Sunflower, right. Number 6. Number 6. This is a fancy flower. Yes, Queen Anne's lace. Which I believe Queen Anne's lace, if you put it in a vase of colored water, it'll turn the Queen Anne's lace different colors. You can do that with
Skittles.
oh, what am I thinking?
Skate.
Carnations. You can do that with carnations too. Number 7. Yes, goldenrod. You can see a lot of that growing right now. And then number 8, yummy yummy. What is that? Dandelion.
That's a weed.
Number 9. This is actually the September flower. Every month of the year has a flower, and it has a birthstone. What would this be? This is on page 55. No. Has the real skinny petals. Aster. And then number 10. This is tansy. Okay. Very good. And we will